Hello, everybody. Welcome in here to the Truth Serum. Friends, Joey the Truth Wagner with you. Can you believe it's already week 15 of the NFL, everybody? Week 15, and we get a special performance this week for the black and gold. It is the Steelers, it is the Colts on Saturday, everybody. With how big this game is, the NFL made sure that the Steelers and Colts were a part of the special Saturday window, and they are the middle game of the NFL Network triple header. It's a 4:30 p.m. kickoff, and it is currently between two teams that, as of the moment, are in the playoff picture in the AFC currently. But the result of this game will go massive way here to determine who is in the playoffs, who is out. Current standings, Pittsburgh Steelers are 7-6. They are the number 6 seed in the AFC. The Colts are also 7-6. They are currently the number 7 seed, the final AFC playoff team. And everybody, this right here, these are the sort of swing, the big swing that this game has. If the Steelers win this game, they have a 45% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, 8%, 37% swing. For the Colts, a win, 63% chance to get in. A loss, only 20%, a 43% swing. So out of all of the games in the NFL for this entire year, this will probably have one of the biggest swings for playoffs or not for the entire league for the entire year. Before we talk about this game, and by the way, we have a special guest with us, Cody, Colts fan, has his own YouTube channel for the Colts on. Make sure that you check him out at some point during the week. Before we get Cody's thoughts on the Colts, this is what the Steelers have done the past couple of weeks, everybody. They've done nothing. They literally had the worst 2-week stretch of any competent team in the history of the NFL. The Steelers became the first team with an above 500 record to lose back-to-back games to teams that are 8 games under 500 or worse. They lost to the 2-10 Arizona Cardinals. They lost to the 2-10 New England Patriots. And what's even more worse about it, they lost both games at home to these terrible teams that they had no business losing to. If they would have won these games, they'd be 9-4 and sitting real pretty right now. But instead, their season is on the line. Cody, my friend, how have the Colts been doing? How have they been looking?
Well, if you would ask me this a week ago, I would have said a lot better of a thing than I'll probably say today. You know, the Colts were riding a 4-game winning streak, came off their bye and, were already on I think it was a 2-game winning streak. And then they've won the last 2. And then they go into Cincinnati and completely just get manhandled and completely disassembled, it seems like, from the team that we've grown to know this year. And so, how much of that was, some of the issues for this team getting caught up with them versus how much of it was just a bad day. I think it was a little bit of both, to be honest with you. But, it's crazy because, my co-host Derek and I, we were talking about this, these last couple weeks. The Colts 7 wins this year, like you mentioned. I mean, this is more than a lot of people said they were going to get in 17 games. So I think for all of us, it's crazy how the kind of the goalpost has shifted here with how well the Colts have played despite all of the issues they've had, despite the injuries they've had, the guys who haven't been available this year. So the fact that the Colts are standing here right now and still are in the playoff picture, like you mentioned, it's definitely great for Shane Steichen, who's obviously in his first year with the Colts and, what they've been able to do this year. They haven't always been pretty wins, but they found ways to win in the majority of these games. And really outside of the Cincinnati game, honestly, Joey, it feels like the Colts have been in every game that they've played in. They've had an opportunity. And even in that Cincinnati game, they were tied at halftime. And then they just completely unraveled in the second half. And so, this Colts team, while they definitely have their issues, they've had a lot of injuries, a lot of key injuries to a lot of key players this year. And, I really do feel like they had an off day. Some of their things that we would call perceived strengths for them, somehow, some way were actually weaknesses and reasons why they lost against the Cincinnati Bengals. So a team that's not used to that happening to them this year. So I'm very curious to see how they respond this week, kind of off of really, I think, a wake-up call for a lot of people on that team and on this, in this organization, because, a lot of people were talking about how, man, the Colts are hot right now. And they came in and, we all thought, okay, they're going to take care of business again. And that just didn't happen at all against the Bengals. So that's kind of where the Colts sit right now. I'm very interested to see how they respond here. And it's interesting, both of our teams coming off of pretty bad losses, we would say. And so just going to be intrigued with how much is on the line. You mentioned in this game on Saturday, how do both these teams kind of respond here with their backs against the wall, essentially, because there's tons of teams behind them right now at 7-6. So it's not like neither team can afford to really lose another game, or else they're going to be sitting on the outside looking in here in a week. So definitely, like you said, a huge, huge game for playoff implications.
Yeah. There are currently in this AFC wildcard picture 6 different teams at 7-6. And everybody, the injury bug for the Steelers has really hit this week. Hopefully the extra 2 days of preparation, well, actually 3 days extra with prep over the Colts, can do them good. I mean, the injuries are piling up for Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has already announced that Kenny Pickett's still out with the ankle injury, the ankle surgery. What was concerning, our 2 best pass rushers, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, they are currently in concussion protocol. We will see if they can be cleared by Saturday. When it comes to concussion protocol, you never know what is going to happen. So with those 2, it would game time decision, I would say. And pretty much other than those 2, and I know there's a lot of talent on the Steelers defense with Watt and Highsmith, Hayward in the middle, Fitzpatrick the safety. I know there's a lot of talent, but boy, they give up yards in chunks. And really what's been saving them the entire season has been the splash play, the turnovers, the sacks. And if they don't have Watt and Highsmith, I find that it'll be very tough for them to stop the Colts offense, even with a backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, and in the same way with the Colts, they've had just, it feels like, so many injuries this year to key people. I can probably count on a finger how many times the Colts have had all 5 of their offensive linemen fully healthy this year. It's been rough, man. And you get everybody back, and then all of a sudden, Braden Smith goes out early, and then, there you are again, and he misses against Cincinnati, and you're back to square one because he's been one of the better offensive linemen on this team. And so, yeah, the injury bug, I think, for both these teams is catching up to them a little bit here. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they weather the storm. For Indy, they've had a couple guys that didn't play that I think were key guys that missed a week ago. EJ Speed, kind of that second linebacker in the rotation. They definitely missed him for sure. His tackling ability, just his overall presence on the field. Definitely have missed Julius Juju Brents, the second-round pick. He's missed 6 games now with a quad injury, but the good news is he did practice 2 days yet last week. It just feels like the Colts felt like he wasn't quite ready yet. He got ruled out on Saturday. So you do feel like he's potentially going to make his return, and he's played well when he's been given the opportunity and when he's been on the field. And then we'll see on Jonathan Taylor. That's going to be the big one for me, man, this week. Taylor obviously had that thumb surgery. He's now missed 2 games, and that was kind of the prognosis was 2 to 3 weeks. So it's kind of right in that time frame now. I can see it going either way, honestly, with Jonathan Taylor. I can see the Colts just wanting to be careful with him, playing on a Saturday, giving him an extra day there to recover for the next game. I could see that happening. I could also see them being like, look, our running game has been bad without Taylor. Like, if he's good to go, we're good to go. So those are some of the key injuries for Indy. Braden Smith, the right tackle, I don't think he's probably going to – he may not play the rest of the season. He's had some injuries this year. So it'll probably be Blake Freeland, the rookie, at right tackle this week. But those are some of the main injuries for Indy in this game.
Yeah, it just seems like injuries are just such a big part of this. And if the Colts have to go with a backup right tackle, then if the Steelers would get TJ Watt and he's able to play, then that would be a huge plus for Pittsburgh, because TJ Watt is usually on that side against the right tackle. So if you can usually get him going up against a backup right tackle, it is usually good things for the black and gold. And I'll say this, Cody, over the past few weeks, over the course of the season, what is one thing that the Colts have done really well, and what is one thing that the Colts have sort of like struggled with?
Sure. Yeah, and it's weird because, a week ago, like I said, they didn't play well at all. But previous to that, if you take last week out, the thing that the Colts had done really, really effectively was I felt like they did a really good job at getting after the quarterback and disrupting, quarterback's timing and things like that. They came into the game off of 2 straight games with 6 sacks. And, and it was so strange. They went from, 6 sacks to no sacks in that Cincinnati game. And so I think that's one thing they've done really well. And while I feel like the offense has definitely had some good moments, they've really struggled to run the football as of recently. And it's not like they've been playing these elite run defenses either. They've been playing like Cincinnati's not a good defense. Statistically, they're one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And, even Tennessee, and the Colts weren't able to run the ball on them in the last 2 weeks. And so I think without Jonathan Taylor, you're starting to see Zach Moss kind of come back to earth a little bit more. And that definitely is frustrating to see. So those are some of the things they've struggled. And, even just on the offense, like, even though they've been able to move the ball pretty effectively this year, the turnovers have been killer from Gardner Minshew this year.
Okay. And everybody, from the Steelers perspective, until last week against New England, were really starting to get that 2-headed running back monster, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, going. They had 4 consecutive weeks of over 150 yards rushing. When the Steelers are doing what they need to do, it all starts with this run game with them, and they did not have much success doing that against New England, but that is something that they've been decent at for most of the season. And other than that, offensively, it's been a little bit hit and miss. You're having George Pickens on the sidelines, on the field, basically throwing temper tantrums because he's not getting the ball. And he's healthy. He's not hurt or anything, but he's just not getting the targets that he feels that he's capable of. And he is the most talented receiver that is on this roster. Deontay Johnson, it's been a little bit hit and miss. Pretty much with the Steelers, if it's pretty much not involving the run game, or TJ Watt pressuring the quarterback, or Chris Boswell being money with field goals, if it's not one of those 3 things, they're pretty much hit and miss and like not great at like anything else. Like it's been one of those years where it is a massive concern with everything that's going on, and especially with Trubisky starting on Saturday. In that game against New England, you look at the stats, he only threw 1 pick. He had another one that was called back via penalty, and a potential third one that was just dropped by New England. He is a turnover machine. And that is just the last thing that they need for this game upcoming on Saturday. The linebackers, they're pretty much all hurt, decimated due to injury. So they've been sort of struggling a bit against the run. Tight ends have been carving them up over the past couple of weeks. Henry of the Patriots, Trey McBride of Arizona just had field days with them. And I would sort of ask Cody, who is the tight end for the Colts?
Yeah. So just so you know, Jelani Woods, he hasn't played all year. He was going to be hopefully that number one guy, but he's had some very unfortunate injuries with the hamstring. It was like he was recovering from one and then he tore his other one. It's just been a mess this year for him. So tight ends this year, it's funny you ask me because I feel like it alternates about every week for who does well. They have like three guys. They don't have like that one tight end that really dominates. But, really the guys that have played well as of recently, I would say Kylan Granson is one. He's not, the best tight end in the world. He's more of that receiving guy, that yards after the catch type of tight end. They have different guys like Mo Alley Cox is still on the roster. Nothing great, but he is, a big body tight end. He did have a touchdown against the Cincinnati Bengals on a fourth down. They have guys like Andrew Ogletree and Will Mallory, who was a 5th round pick, I believe, this year. So a lot of kind of a by committee approach at tight end this year. A lot of different guys with a lot of different skill sets. And actually Mallory, he was the fastest tight end in the draft this last year. And it's been cool to see the Colts kind of start utilizing him a little bit more here in the last, couple weeks. And I personally been a believer in him and saying, hey, give him more targets, and it seems like when they do, good things happen. So I'm hoping that trend continues. But yeah, I think it will be by committee. I would say the tight ends had the most success as of recent has probably been Granson. I believe he had, a couple big catches against the Tennessee Titans. And so he can get open and he can make yards after the catch, but no true number one tight end right now for Indianapolis. And I think that's why we see all these different guys getting different reps at different moments. So that's what I would say. If you're making me choose one, I'd probably go Granson right now.
Okay. Thank you for that. But everybody, it is time for what all of you have been waiting for. Our game picks, our game predictions, and everybody, it just sounds like this game on Saturday is just both teams decimated with injury, both teams on backup quarterbacks. I would definitely say the Colts have the coaching edge, especially offensively with Shane Steichen over the Steelers' interim crew of Eddie Faulkner and Mike Sullivan. But it's just both teams are hurt. They're reeling. And it just feels like it's just going to be that ugly, drag it out, whatever it takes to win ugly type football game. Cody, that's sort of where I'm seeing it headed. I'll let you give your game prediction first, and then I'll, give mine.
Out of curiosity, I don't know if we talked much about the Steelers secondary in this game. So, what have they been like this year? We know Minka, but who else?
It's been, depending on the guy with DBs, it's been hit and miss. The rookie corner, the 2nd round pick out of Penn State, Joey Porter Jr., he's been really good. He's been a lockdown guy on the outside. Why it took them until week 7 before he was the full-time starter, I have no idea, because he was the best cover corner since the preseason. That's just my thoughts. He's really good. Levi Wallace, a little bit of, hit and miss. Patrick Peterson has come on a little bit better as the season's gone along. But it's pretty much back there. Joey Porter Jr. and you just sort of hope, pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Gotcha.
And here's the thing that's been really concerning for me. For the Steelers, their safety, Minka Fitzpatrick, he is the best center field deep safety in the league. But because they've been struggling against the run so much, they've been having him up in the box a lot to help with the run. So he really hasn't been able to play to his talents and, be a ball hawk in deep center field.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I do think that the Colts could take advantage of that, especially if Watt and Highsmith don't play in this game. I think the Colts could take advantage, Minka's really the only guy you talk about that's kind of then the proven guy back there. So I do think Indy will bounce back. Their offense was so bad a week ago, but it wasn't like they didn't move the ball. They were just very bad situationally, right? And so I think they will have kind of a bounce back game. And again, it will depend, like we said, on these two guys. But I think if they don't play, I actually give Indy a pretty good chance in this one to have that bounce back type of performance, especially because, like we talked about, we've seen what Pittsburgh's done or not done against some very inferior competition record-wise. So I'm going to go Indianapolis 20, Pittsburgh 14. I think it will be kind of a slogfest in certain ways, like you said, but both these teams have their issues. But like you said, I do think some of the things that the Colts do well, they're going to get back to some of that a little bit more. And if they can start running the ball, they know it's a problem. They haven't been able to do it. This is a great week, with, like you said, how much Pittsburgh has been struggling against the run. Colts need to finally take advantage of it. They need to stop, doing what they've been doing, and they need to actually do something about it. So I think it's going to be one of those games where it could come down to that. But I do think Indy will pull it out here because, they've traditionally bounced back pretty well from losses.
I'll start with this. If Watt and Highsmith don't play, then I think Indy wins this game relatively convincingly. But if Watt and Highsmith play, then that's where the Steelers have their opportunity. They can be opportunistic, try to take the ball away from Gardner Minshew. I know he's had a little bit of the yips at some point throughout the season with turnovers where he's had trouble with that. And it's just one where you just absolutely, you cannot let Mitch Trubisky lose you this football game, because he will. If you have it in his hands too much, he will lose the Steelers this football game. And another thing too, can the Steelers need to start fast? I mean, they were down 21-3 in the first half to New England. These slow starts have been absolutely crushing, and a slow starts like that, to me, that all falls on coaching and the coaching staff. All coaching. The more this has gone on, the Steelers aren't extremely well coached. They're not. The only definite you're going to get out of them is that if you're pretty much inside the Indianapolis 40-yard line, because the game is in Indy in that dome, that Boswell is going to be he can nail 57, 58, 60-yard field goals. That's the only guarantee you really have from the Steelers, I'd say, in this game. I would like to think there'd be a bounce back performance because your season is on the line. If you're not going to get up for this one, you're not going to get up for anything. I will say this. If Watt and Highsmith don't play, Colts win. If they do play, I will go Pittsburgh 16, Indianapolis 13 in a never boring, never duplicated, ugly, grinded out, how did I watch this with my own eyes for 3.5 hours type of football game.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, Indy's offense doesn't necessarily give me a lot of optimism, especially after what they did last week. So I could definitely see that happening.
Well, there it is, everybody. We broke it down from start to finish to A to Z, from 1 to infinity, everybody. I know that everybody, you'll be live on Saturday. Yes, Cody, for the call?
Yes, I will. Mm-hmm.
Yes, everybody. Like I said, Cody, he'll be live on his channel called Bring the Juice for the Colts Perspective at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday. As you know, my gang and we will absolutely be live as well Saturday afternoon. We'll have Hollywood, we'll have Victor, we'll have Charlie, we'll have Ella, we'll have everybody in the house, everybody, and we hope you enjoy it. Coming up, Cody, thank you so much for being on again, my friend. I know that last year we sort of did this and it went really well, and it went really well for the Steelers on a Monday night in Indianapolis. And as a Steelers fan, I hope we get the same result this week.
Man, last year was such a blur. I try to forget last year even happened, to be honest with you. That I was at that point, and I don't often get there, but I was like, I don't even want them to win. I want them to get a quarterback, at this point. So definitely crazy how things have changed from a year ago.
Well, I think you did get your quarterback. I'll say this: Anthony Richardson is insanely talented, and with Shane Steichen coaching him up, I think he'll turn into something pretty good at this level. So you guys got a bright future at the most important position in the sport.
Yeah, hopefully he can stay healthy, man, because if he can, he's showed he can be a superstar, no question.
But thank you so much, Cody, for being on. I hope you have an awesome call on Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, everybody, for Cody, Joey the Truth Wagner signing off, everybody. In the comments, in the chats, make sure you put your game day picks, your game day thoughts for the Steelers and the Colts, everybody. We will see you on Saturday.